Hello, everyone. Welcome to Opinions New by Dr. Frank Tianshi. I'm Frank. In this episode, I want to talk to you about something that might not be very familiar with most Americans. It's about the 14th five-year plan of Communist China. If you're interested in this, okay? 14th five-year plan of Communist China. I was interviewed by a TV host of Voice America, Mr. Lin Feng, a few days ago. Right? We were talking about their situation, the Chinese communists, faces, and also this 14th five-year plan that's being, carried out or being planned. It's actually quite funny if you think about this. The whole communist regime of China is facing collapse, total collapse, right? They can't even take care of themselves, Everyone, all the elites, the people, the rich, the top level communist cadres, leaders, the families, they're really in a plan to escape. Right? That's why the Chinese government would not even allow most people to renew their passport, to restrict their renewing or getting new passport to get out of China. So, and now, with this whole regime, under being in a mode of a total collapse, they're talking about the 14th five-year plan. So that's just totally ridiculous. You might not be very familiar with this so-called five-year plan. That's actually something China learned or adopted from Soviet Union, USSR, because when USSR was still alive, and they had this idea or this tradition of establishing a five-year plan, another 5 year. So every 5 years they have a five-year plan to plan their economy. Is under command economy. But China learned this from Russia, not former Soviet Union, and they also established this system of designing and implementing five-year plan. That's a planned economy. Yeah. That actually also shows that the China is not a market economy. They're still planning this five-year plan. Now, the next five-year plan for Chinese economy is their 14th one. So that's why it's called 14th five-year plan. Right? And so nobody really believes in their 14th five-year plan because they keep using this to show that they're in good shape, they're in control, everything is okay, everything is fine, we can still do business, make money. But that's not the case. They're trying to fool people. Now, when people find out, eventually they find out that they are fooled, the people will be enraged and they're really going to be, uh, trying to settle this thing with the Chinese communists. Okay? Mr. Lin Feng shared with me that the Chinese leader, communist leader Xi Jinping, said that our world today, the humanity is facing a big dramatic change that unheard of in the past 100 years. And also the protectionism, singularism, and also COVID-19, all these things make these changes, accelerated. Okay? But exactly what is this unprecedented, big, drastic change of 100 years? Right? And what does it mean by 100 years? Right? In fact, the so-called, the centennial drastic change quoted by the Chinese Communist leadership is actually about their own party. The Chinese Communist Party was founded in 1921. Next year, 2021, is the 100th centennial anniversary, right? But the chances are, I don't think the Chinese Communist Party will survive until its 100th year, right? But now they think that there is unprecedented drastic change of unheard of in the past 100 years. That actually means that the Communist Party itself is facing the biggest crisis, since its founding. And the Chinese government has been spreading or saying that there's a crisis of party being eliminated or destroyed, and the state being destroyed. They're actually talking about the total destruction of the party itself. Okay, so indeed, China is facing the largest crisis, in 100 years. I believe so too, right? And if you look at this business, politics, economy, diplomacy, military, human rights issues, pandemics, the crises are everywhere. Crises are everywhere, right? Especially Chinese economy. If you look at the economy, I think this is in the process of a total collapse. It's collapsing. Okay? Recently, the Chinese leader called in their think tank, right, and talked to them and tried to find some solutions to the problem, right. But they didn't find the person or the experts who can truly tell them about the true situation of Chinese economy. But all those really what we call this experts who are only good at finding solutions for whatever the leaders desire, those kind of so-called scholars, right? Mr. Lin Feng also said that indicated that in July, Mr. Xi Jinping said that the Chinese economy wants to develop, mostly based on internal cycling or internal circulation, and they want to have both internal and external, domestic and international circulation of the economy. What do they mean by that, right? And I talk about this in just a minute, right? They also emphasize that with the external environment deteriorating, but Chinese domestic environment is actually improving. That's actually not true. Right? Excuse me. She also said that the per capita GDP of China is now close to 10,000 US dollars, and urbanization reached about 60%, and middle class in China is now amounts to like 400 million, and so on and so forth. Right. The internal domestic business environment of China is actually deteriorating very fast, right? And they said China is actually entering a stage of high quality economic development. That's also not true. So-called what defines a high quality development of a country? Right? It usually is signified by like breakthroughs in new science and technology, right? With the increase in the productivity, right? With the increase in employment, right? And fast increase in GDP, and also the manufacturing sector, advancing to a new higher level, and also expansion of its export market. That's what we mean by a high quality development of a country, of a nation's economy. But that's not happening in China. It's not happening in China right now. It's just the opposite that's happening, right? The so-called internal circulation of Chinese economy is really nothing but the self-reliance and closed-up policy of China before 1978, right? Of course, this is not something that the Chinese regime wanted to happen. They had to face that because they really had no choice. China needs foreign money. They need a real, true gold, hard currencies. Right? They need the money, investment and technology, and especially high tech from the West, from America. Right? How can they get this, technology, money, investment, from the internal circulation? They cannot do that, right? And also they can really have both internal and external circulation. We know that this is their wishful thinking. We know that the international global supply chain has shifted, from China to outside of China, and they're not going to come back. Okay? And also the wealth and capital of the world. We have seen that in the past, I would say past 30, 40 years have been moving from the eastern part of the Pacific to westbound to China. Now it seems to be going on further to westbound to countries like Vietnam, India, and Bangladesh. Right? And Chinese economy is really facing a very dire, situation. It's really in bad shape. And I think the total collapse, is inevitable. Right? Also, the Chinese Communist leader talked about the average per capita GDP of China at 10,000 US dollars. And that's also not true. If the per capita GDP of China reaches about 10,000 US dollars, then the per capita income of China should be around, I calculated around 5,700 to 6,000 US dollars, right, per year and per person per year. Or it's about 40,000 to 42,000 Chinese dollars, renminbi, per year annually. Okay. Now let's go to the monthly income for the Chinese, worker is going to be around the 3,300 Chinese renminbi, Chinese dollars. Is that true, or is the situation so optimistic? Not true. In the northeast of China, we have learned that there are some jobs that only pays like 1,500 to 2,000 Chinese dollars a month, and there are tons of college graduates applying, rushing to get those jobs, and many of them could not get it. They rush to get a job, pays only 1,500 to $2,000 Chinese dollars a month. They couldn't get it. There's not enough. Right? And Chinese Premier Li Keqiang said that in 2020 there are still over 600 million Chinese people with monthly income of 1,000 Chinese dollars or less. Right? Another study recently showed that there are 900 million Chinese people, 900 million, almost 1 billion people, with an income of less than 2,000 Chinese dollars a month. How could they get national average income of $3,300? That's impossible. Okay? Also, according to Mr. Lin, this high-level talk between Xi Jinping and his think tank around this 14th, 5-year plan, 14th 5-year plan, is interesting to see. Is all to see the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang was not even involved in the meeting, top-level meeting about Chinese economy. That's really strange, right? And also the so-called internal circulation, external circulation, or double circulation. This concept is proposed by Mr. Liu He. If you're familiar with that, he is actually chief delegate from China at the U.S.-China, trade talks. Mr. Liu, right? So this is kind of really weird. I think among the Chinese elite or within the Chinese Communist Party, the power struggle is so fierce, it's so dark, it's so filthy. It's like people are really in this meat grinder. Like, it's just so tough. I mean, they're really killing each other. And if you think about this, Mr. Liu was the leader of Chinese delegation at U.S.-China trade talks, right? I think he should know clearly, where America stands, right? And also he should know or should have views similar to those people inside Chinese leadership that's more close or more pro America, right? And they really should know. He really should know better, and can come up with the idea or the policy of returning all the wealth, back to the Chinese people, right? And that's the only way out for China. Apparently, Mr. Liu did not do that. It's also very strange. Okay? And people who are familiar with the how policies or policy decisions are made in America, or the interaction between government elite and think tank, will not have no idea or never be able to fully understand how decisions are made at a high level in China. It's just so backwards, so awkward and backward. Right? And Xi Jinping had this think tank of sort of a nine think tank with nine people, nine economic advisors. We learned those are really the advisor, economic experts of the past. They have no clue. They cannot really provide any insightful advice to the Chinese leader. Right? There are actually six obstacles for China to achieve or to fulfill or to meet the goals set forth in the 14th five-year plan. Yeah, let's look at the six obstacles. I call it six tigers in the way. Right? The first one is in Chinese word is to look at the new challenge and dialectically. That means they really do not want to face, to acknowledge defeat. They're going to keep fighting America, keep fighting forever, keep going, keep fighting with American, right? American government, American people, right? And the second one is for a smooth and fluid internal economic circulation. I know that's the party language, right? That means actually the Chinese economy is not really operating very fluidly. The internal circulation is not going very smoothly. Now, we have seen that the government control, the government rationing, the government purchasing and monopoly on food supplies and distribution. Government basically, all those things are coming back from the past, from the planned or command economy. In the past, 30, 40 years ago, China was in such a system where the government would purchase all the food products, all the crops from the peasants, from the farmers, and then sell them under government control to city dwellers. Right? And this seems to be going back to that now. Right? The third obstacle is using science and technological innovation to stimulate economic development. This is actually impossible for them to do because the Chinese way of getting technology, new technology, by stealing that from the United States and the forced tech transfer, they cannot do that anymore. That route is blocked by Trump. Okay? The fourth obstacle is they want to deepen their reform, so to give them a stimulus to the economy. But that's also not going to happen because Chinese economic reform is long gone. It's over. They cannot really getting anything more out of that. In China, they have this saying that the government is harvesting or carting chives. If you're familiar with the Chinese vegetable, one of them is called Chinese chives. It's a vegetable, more or less just like grass, kind of very similar to grass, has very unique, flavor to it. And the thing about the Chinese chive is you cut it, right? You cut it, harvest, and then it grows again. It keep cutting it, keep growing. The Chinese people are referring to the communist leadership's exploitation of the wealth of China as cutting or harvesting chives, from the people. Now the chives is not growing fast enough for the government to keep harvesting or looting from the national treasury. So that's not going to happen. The fifth obstacle is the is or a challenge is the high level cooperation and global cooperation. What do we mean by that? Right? They cannot do that anymore. You remember the one road, one belt initiative, or the belt and road initiative, right? And it's not happening anymore. It's almost dead because China does not have the currency, foreign exchange, or hard dollars, money, US dollars, to keep investing in those projects, mega projects along the Belt Road Initiative. Mhm. And the last one, the sixth one of the obstacle or the challenge is to develop a new, and put this way, is really the awkward Chinese, Communist Party language. Basically, it's saying that the Chinese government or Chinese Communist government wants to share its wealth and power with the people. Yeah. Right. Now they want to share the power and the wealth with people. Why? Because they know that they have to now. They feel the urge or feel the pressure. Yeah. But the thing is, Chinese government took over power. Right. They overthrew the nationalists in 1949 by seizing the land, the farms from the peasants, from farmers, and then taking over all the business from city, capitalists, business owners in China. They overtook the whole China, and now the elite is controlling the net total economy. Will they be able to offer or give back the wealth they already took in? I don't think so. Will they share the power with the people, have free elections, things like that? I don't think so. So that's not going to happen. So this one, the co-sharing or co-prosperity between government and people is not possible to happen. So what the Chinese people are looking for or expecting really now is really the total collapse or total dissolution of Chinese Communist Party, so they can get the wealth back to the hands of the people. So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, there's a so-called the 14th five-year plan of the Chinese Communist Party is going to be a total illusion. Okay, thank you very much. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.